Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and get straight to the insights you need. Today, we're plunging into the very backbone of manufacturing operations, the manufacturing execution system, the MES. Now, here's a critical question directly for you, our listener. Is your MES working for your people? Or are your people really working for your MES? And look, this isn't just like technical jargon. It's a fundamental difference in how things run day to day. It affects efficiency and, frankly, probably sanity on the shop floor. So, our mission today is to really unpack that crucial distinction. We'll dig into both sides, but the real aha moment from our sources, I think, is that the best MES isn't necessarily one or the other. It's more about a smart blend. Let's explore why. We want to equip you with the core insights needed to understand this vital operational decision.
Okay, so to really get where manufacturing is heading, sometimes you need to paint a clear picture of the older ways first, right? It's your traditional approaches. So let's start by unpacking the machine-centric MES. What's that all about?
Right. So a traditional machine-centric MES is, well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's built primarily around the systems, the machinery itself. Its core focus is really on gathering data directly from those machines. It cares mostly about things like throughput speed, feeding rates, cycle times, that sort of thing. But critically, these systems, they aren't really designed around specific jobs or inventory levels, or, importantly, the actual people operating the machines. They often end up functioning as standalone solutions. They don't have that seamless integration with, say, the rest of your production line or your bigger business systems, like the ERP or warehouse management. Exactly. Your enterprise resource planning system, your WMS for inventory, that connection is often weak or, non-existent without custom work. And this machine-centric approach, well, it often leads to some pretty significant practical issues right there on the shop floor. For starters, you often end up with these really complex interfaces. They demand extensive training, technical expertise, just to figure out how to navigate them. Operators frequently tell us they feel like they're fighting the system rather than, focusing on actual production.
So, okay, put simply, operators are spending more time wrestling with the software than actually making the products. Is that kind of the core issue you see?
That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It
Yep.
creates this constant friction. And then there are the rigid workflows. These systems, they tend to follow these predetermined paths, almost regardless of what's actually happening in the real world. So when inevitably unexpected things pop up, and they always do on a shop floor,
Yeah.
right, the system becomes a major roadblock, a hindrance.
Instead of a help.
Precisely. And finally, these systems often throw up these data-heavy displays. They just completely overwhelm users with information they might not need for their immediate task. It's like trying to find one specific thing you need, but you're shown absolutely everything the system knows. It buries the critical data.
Utterly overwhelming, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've painted this picture of systems that often kind of fight against the people using them. But what if we flip that whole script? What if the software was designed to think more like your most efficient operator? That's the promise, I guess, of a user-centric MES.
Yeah, exactly. A user-centric MES. And our research pointed to examples like MV2,
Yeah.
which is interesting because the sources mention its unique origin story. It completely flips this paradigm.
Yes.
Instead of forcing operators to adapt how they work to the system actually adapts to how people actually work on the shop floor. And what's really fascinating here, the sources indicate that systems like this, like MV2, they weren't dreamed up in some, ivory tower conference room by IT folks who maybe never set foot on a production floor.
Right.
They were apparently built by people who genuinely understand the manufacturing reality. They know the daily challenges operators and supervisors face.
And you can probably feel that difference in the design.
Absolutely. That understanding translates directly into the core ideas of user-centric design. First, it's all about intuitive operation. The interface should mirror how operators naturally think about their work. Critical info, immediately visible, common tasks, minimal clicks. Second, you get contextual information. This is key. Operators see exactly what they need precisely when they need it. No hunting through multiple screens or menus.
So relevant data right at the point of decision.
Exactly. And third, it really embodies real shop floor design. This means prioritizing the information that matters most for immediate decisions, using clear visual indicators so status is instantly obvious, and streamlining common tasks so they require minimal interaction.
Okay, these sound like really clear philosophical differences. But, what do they really mean for a manufacturer's bottom line, for the actual business? Our sources laid out a pretty compelling case about the hidden costs of one approach and maybe the overlooked gains of the other. Let's talk about those hidden traps first. What are the costs of sticking with machine-centric?
Yeah, the hidden costs of a machine-centric MES can be substantial, even if they aren't always, immediately obvious on a spreadsheet. Think about training overhead, for example. New operators might need weeks, literally weeks of training just to perform basic tasks.
Weeks just to use the system.
For basic functions, yeah.
Yeah.
And every time the system gets updated, you might have to retrain your entire team. That's a slow, constant drain on resources. And this, well, it directly translates into reduced efficiency. What really should be a simple 30-second task can easily balloon into a 5-minute ordeal.
5 minutes, just navigating screens.
Clicking through multiple screens, menu selections, yeah. And then you have higher error rates. That's almost inevitable because difficult-to-use systems just lead to mistakes. And those mistakes can cascade right through your production line, impacting quality, delivery schedules, the works.
Okay. What else?
Well, we also often see just plain operator resistance. When systems are frustrating to use, workers naturally find workarounds. Or they might even avoid using the system altogether if they can.
Right. They'll find a manual way, even if it's not ideal.
Exactly. Imagine a supervisor spending like half their day just chasing down data that should be in the system simply because operators found a faster, maybe riskier manual workaround. This fundamentally undermines any digital transformation efforts you're trying to make.
Yeah, it defeats the whole purpose.
Totally. Then there's limited flexibility. When production needs inevitably change new product, different process systems, these machine-centric systems often become an IT bottleneck. They require expensive intervention, customization, maybe downtime.
So not agile.
Not at all. And maybe one of the most overlooked costs is these costly one-off integrations. Like we said, these solutions often lack that seamless, out-of-the-box integration with core business systems, your ERP, your WMS, quality management maybe. So as a result, each integration becomes its own custom project. And the sources mentioned this could potentially cost tens of thousands of dollars.
Tens of thousands per integration.
Yeah, in consulting fees, development time, ongoing maintenance for each single integration point. It adds up incredibly fast.
Wow. Okay, those are significant pitfalls, definitely not just minor annoyances. So if those are the costs, what's the upside? What are the really compelling advantages of embracing a more user-centric approach?
Right. On the flip side, the advantages of a user-centric MES are genuinely compelling. First, you get incredibly faster onboarding, like dramatically faster. New team members can become productive in hours, literally hours, not weeks.
Hours versus weeks, that's a huge difference.
It is, because the learning curve is just so much lower. The system follows logical, human-centered workflows that people pick up quickly. Second, there's built-in flexibility. When your production requirements change, and they always do, a user-centric system tends to adapt much more easily, often without needing expensive IT modifications or causing system downtime.
So it can evolve with the business?
Precisely. This also leads to drastically reduced errors. When you have clear visual interfaces and logical workflows, you just naturally cut down the chance of operator mistakes. Things make sense.
That makes sense. Fewer mistakes, better quality.
Exactly. Another key advantage is something we could call maybe scalable simplicity. As your operation grows, whether you're adding new work centers, production lines, products, processes, a good user-centric system grows with you without just becoming exponentially more complex to use.
So it scales, but doesn't get bogged down.
Right. Your team doesn't have to learn entirely new systems or confusing new workflows every time you expand. And perhaps most importantly, it really fosters operator empowerment. Instead of making operators feel like, data entry clerks just feeding the machine.
Just pushing buttons?
Yeah. These systems can turn them into sort of shop floor strategists. They give them the tools and the real-time information they need to actually optimize production, make smart decisions on the fly, and truly own their processes.
Okay, so for the production leaders listening, the ones staring down these significant investment decisions, what's the ultimate takeaway here? It sounds like user-centric is the obvious winner, but you hinted at something a bit more nuanced earlier, right at the top of the deep dive.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it really brings us to one of the most crucial insights we pulled from the sources. While that user-centric design brings all those incredible benefits we just talked about, the reality is the best MES environments actually manage to balance both machine-centric and user-centric approaches.
Okay, so it's not strictly one or the other.
Not necessarily, no. Think about it. You absolutely need that deep automation, that machine-level precision to really drive throughput and ensure consistent production quality. The machine-centric elements are vital for that foundational efficiency. But at the same time, you also need those intuitive, user-focused tools. the ones that empower your operators and your supervisors to make informed, real-time decisions based on that machine data.
Okay, I see. You need the machine data, but presented in a way humans can actually use effectively.
That's the key. The secret isn't really choosing one philosophy over the other. It's about how these two aspects work together. When you have robust machine integration feeding accurate, timely data into a system that operators find intuitive and empowering to use, well, that's when you truly unlock operational efficiency. Your MES should amplify your team's capabilities, not constrain them. And when operators can actually focus on production instead of fighting with the software, that's when you see those immediate improvements across the board: efficiency, quality, even morale.
Precisely. Yeah, the choice isn't just about picking a piece of software off a shelf. It's really about the fundamental philosophy behind that software. Is it built primarily to serve the machine or the person operating it? Or ideally, as you're saying, both in harmony? It really boils down to investing in a tool that truly works with your people and with your machines. And getting that balance right, well, that seems like what determines who leaves and who maybe falls behind in today's incredibly competitive manufacturing environment. So, as you, our listener, consider your own shop floor, maybe ask yourself, are your current systems truly empowering your team? Or are they perhaps a hidden source of friction and frustration? How might balancing both the machine needs and the human needs in your MES transform your daily operations and ultimately your long-term success? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.